Two men arrested in the Pinyon Pines triple murders from 2006. One of the victims' ex-boyfriends and another friend facing murder charges. After almost 8 years, the family reacts to the news of these arrests as this previously cold case turns quite hot today.
KMIR News at 11 starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here at 11 and streaming live at KMIR.com. I'm Gino Lamont.
And I'm Elizabeth Bobian. Arrests in a case we have been following for years. Two men are in jail tonight facing murder charges in the Pinyon Pines triple murder case. The arrest went down this afternoon, and we are learning tonight the grand jury hearing testimony in this case has not yet reached a decision on whether to indict.
But today, Riverside County Sheriff's Department arrested two suspects. Here's what we know. Two men were arrested this afternoon. They're being held without bail. We've learned that they were taken into custody by deputies after the Sheriff's Department obtained arrest warrants from a judge. The secret grand jury meeting in this case has not yet handed down indictments, but one of the suspects was about to fly out of state, and deputies moved in and made the arrests.
And here are those suspects. These are 2006 high school yearbook photos from Cathedral City High School. 26-year-old Christian Smith, formerly from the Coachella Valley, now in the Army in Washington State, and 26-year-old Robert Pape of Cathedral City. He is the ex-boyfriend of victim 18-year-old Becky Friedley. The Sheriff's Department confirms to us Pape was arrested just after 4 this afternoon in Salton City, near the intersection of Treadwell Boulevard and Desert Air. Tonight, both men are being held without bail at the Robert Presley Detention Center in Riverside. The Sheriff's Department confirms both are being charged with murder. As we mentioned, Pape lives in Cathedral City. I went by his home tonight. His front door was cracked open. I knocked and rang the doorbell. That's when the door was slammed shut in my face and locked.
Will you talk to us? We're from KMIR News.
Also, we talked to a neighbor who says she can't believe Pape was arrested for a triple homicide.
I'm shocked. He seems so sweet. He was the most charming, innocent-looking person I could imagine.
The other suspect, Christian Smith, is a sergeant in the Army based in Washington State. He was arrested this afternoon in a parking lot at Palm Springs Airport as he was preparing to board a flight back to Washington. His attorney confirmed to KMIR News that Smith was here to testify before the grand jury in Riverside. His flight to and from Palm Springs paid for by the Riverside County District Attorney's Office. But he didn't get a chance to get on that return flight. Instead, he was taken into custody. His attorney telling us Smith is being held on murder charges. We understand his wife was with him when he was arrested, but she is not involved in the case.
News of these arrests is what the families have waited for since 2006. Finally, arrests in a case they have long felt has been mishandled by investigators and the DA's office. Ron Friedley is Becky Friedley's father. He says today is the best day of his life.
I'm very, very happy. You know, I'm glad to see that they're in jail, and they're going to have a long time to think about what they did. When the actual crime occurred, both of them were young adults just out of high school, finally got their freedom, and over the last 7.5 years, both of them are now married, and I think that they're going to have a long time to realize what they missed, what they lost as a result of this. I would like to have them come back with a guilty verdict for murder. That's what I'd like to see.
You want to see them on death row?
You know, I just want them to be found guilty. That's my only hope.
I'm thrilled for the families. You know, I'm glad that this thing's moving in the right direction. It was a good day for everybody involved, law enforcement, the victims of the families. Everybody, and for the community itself, it was a great day. I know we found some really important information that had never been brought to light, and you know, and really to me it doesn't matter. It's the results today is what we were looking for. You know, to see Ron's reaction and listen to Becky's sister's reactions today, it was awesome. So, good day.
The attorney for suspect Christian Smith reached out to KMIR News to give us a statement. He says, quote, "I represent Sergeant Christian Smith. I was surprised to learn that Sergeant Smith was detained today while attempting to return to his home base located in Washington State, where he currently serves as a highly decorated member of the elite 2nd Ranger Battalion. Sergeant Smith is a brave and honorable man, having earned 2 Purple Hearts for injuries suffered in service, an Army Commendation Medal for Valor, and other awards that demonstrate his commitment to his country and his fellow Americans. James Chickalee says Smith is innocent, and they will show that if this case goes to trial."
Meanwhile, all this playing out while grand jury testimony was being heard today in Riverside. The proceedings are secret, but we were outside the offices and spoke with several friends of the victims, all called to testify before the grand jury. And tonight, that grand jury apparently still has not yet decided if there is enough evidence to indict the suspects in this case.
KMIR was outside the Riverside County District Attorney's office. Witnesses in the Pinyon Pines triple murder cold case began to arrive to testify before a grand jury. Murder victim Becky Friedley's good friend, Jeannie McDaniels, was the first to arrive. Jeannie came forward to KMIR nearly 9 months ago with information in this case. She says she was never interviewed by law enforcement.
A few weeks before she died, she came to my house very nonchalantly, made comments that he had threatened to kill her, but she didn't take it very seriously and brushed it off. I wish I would have asked her more, but she brushed it off and changed the subject.
Daniela Zermino, Becky's cousin, was also subpoenaed. KMIR reported last September what she knew about the case.
I do know of the specific circumstance that he, when she was working at Denny's the night before the homicide, she had called me about coming in to harass her at work, and Becky was on shift, and the harassment came to a point where somebody in the restaurant, a manager, felt like he needed to be removed, and they'd removed him from the restaurant that night.
Becky's father, Ron, also testified, and so did Javier Garcia Jr. You'll recall it's been alleged Garcia Jr. had information on these murders before it was made public. Garcia Jr. has since hired this man, Eduardo Roy, to represent him in these proceedings. Yesterday, Roy dropped a bomb in the case and released this affidavit to KMIR with never-before-seen information. That document named suspects and detailed how prosecutors say the murders happened. It also laid out a motive for the homicides. KMIR chose not to release this information because it was not authenticated by the district attorney's office and could interfere with the grand jury proceedings and arrests of the suspects. The families of the victims tell us they were very upset this information wasn't given to them first in private by the district attorney and instead was leaked by a defense attorney to the media. Roy refuses to answer our questions on how he received the affidavit or to allow us to speak with Javier Garcia Jr.
I took this affidavit into the courthouse today and asked the court clerk for another copy. She said they don't have a copy, and the only way anybody would be able to get their hands on this is through the district attorney. I asked a spokesman with the district attorney's office how Roy got this affidavit. He responded to us, quote, "It is not this office's policy of practice to provide legal documents related to an ongoing criminal investigation to criminal defense attorneys." Javier Garcia Jr.'s father works for the district attorney's office as a senior investigator. His mother is this woman, former Valley Assemblywoman Bonnie Garcia, who is currently running for state senate. After more than 7 years without justice for the families of the victims, it seems now the case is finally moving forward. This story unfolded fast this afternoon, and there are a lot of details. Let's recap the latest information at this hour. 2 suspects have been arrested. 26-year-old Christian Smith, an Army sergeant stationed in Washington State, and 26-year-old Robert Pape, who is victim Becky Friedley's ex-boyfriend. The Sheriff's Department tells us they are facing murder charges. The Riverside County DA's office still refuses to confirm the arrests or the charges both men face. And the grand jury is apparently still meeting on this case. KMIR News continues to lead the way on coverage of this story. We were first to report on the arrest this afternoon and the only ones to interview witnesses and friends of the victims in Riverside.
And we're going to stay out in front of this story with exclusive details you'll only learn here on KMIR News. Stay with us on the air and online as we continue to break news in this ongoing investigation.